Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, an episode with Rich Klein. I want to thank my sponsors, Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, Compsy.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. Here's the discussion between Rich and myself. Okay, a question from Robert Childers. He says he's maybe moving more toward team collecting because he was a complete set collector and as things get more expensive and all that. I get that. But the question he throws out there that I'm adapting a little bit, and he has a different denomination, but he said he said $10,000. Do you want 10,000 $1 cards or 10,000? Let's reduce that to $1,000. Let's say you've got $1,000 and he's saying that he's now seeing some wisdom in getting maybe not 1,000 $1 cards, but maybe 100 $10 cards, which would still be $1,000, and not one $1,000 card or 10 $100 cards. Now, I think I know what you and I are doing based on our behavior of when we're at a show. We're buying a large number of still not valueless cards, from cards that we think are good deals, and you seem to get better deals than I get, but I do fine. But I'd be 1,000 $1 cards. I think we're drastically in the minority. I think it's 10% at most of the collectors. I don't even think it's 10% would want 1,000 $1 cards. I think there's maybe 20% that would want 100 $10 cards. Still same $1,000. I think the most is 10 $100 cards, where you'd have some bragging rights. But there's a few people that say, you know what, I got $1,000. I just want to buy one card. I want to buy the best $1,000 card I can get. In fact, they don't even do it that way. I'm going to spend $1,000 on the card I want. They're not looking for a $1,000 card. They're looking for the card that they want that happens to be $1,000. So they could be wandering around the show the whole time looking for the one card. Or if they're wanting 10 $100 cards, they can look around and look in the showcases. And you and I are sitting in a chair. You disagree with the proportionality of that?
I'm going to let the proportionality stand. I'm going to go on this from a different angle. Our mutual friend, Mike Moynihan, went to the National a couple of years ago. I believe he was looking for a 52 Bowman Mays or Mantle or something. And he got the card he was looking for. He gets to the National 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he gets the card. He taps himself out for the weekend because it's okay, I'm done. He bought some smaller stuff, but he basically tapped himself out the first day he's there. It's not the worst thing in the world. I've tapped myself out at the Dallas Card Show too, the Thursday night, and then just hang out for a day or so. But here's where I'm going at. What you and I did helped create our careers because you were wider. Plus, you were doing type cards. You weren't focused on the most expensive card. You weren't your friend George Lyons, who, when you do this 13-person buying trip in Boston that you meticulously split up, just said, I want these 3 cards or 5 items or whatever. And is that the one where the 5-card strip of the T206s came from, or is that a different show? Because he featured that in Trader Speaks once. There was a 5-card T206.
That was not part of that big buy.
That was not part of. Okay, but for humor's sake, we'll put that in that group.
Otherwise, how would I have split that, Rich?
You wouldn't have split that. But seriously, George only wanted a few cards. He didn't want to be super wide. He wanted 30 cards, then, okay, I can advertise 10 of them in the Trader Speaks this month. And I'll buy another 10 cards and I'll advertise 5 that I don't really want. I'll keep my collection of 25 or 30 or 50 cards or whatever. You and I needed to go wider so we could learn more, which served us well in doing magazines and doing books because we understood what average people wanted to do.
Long tail, but it strikes me now, I've never thought about it this way, but George was a very successful stockbroker. But his business was not penny stocks. His business was blue chips. I don't even think he did international. He did Dow Jones, Fortune 100, well-run companies. And so that's why I don't think he worked 50 hours a week. He was on his phone 50 hours a week, but he actually was a flipper in cards, always trading up. But in stocks, I don't think he was churning there. I think he was getting his clients to buy good stuff. Now, so you would think, am I a penny stock guy? Do I invest in smaller companies? No, with only one exception, and that is in my own small company. I invested heavily. Okay. Otherwise, I've not invested in my friends' things. I encourage them. I give them free consulting. I always say I'm a pro bono consultant when I'm helping friends sell their collections. I'm completely pro bono, and I'll advise them to go to a certain auction. And I've done that not dozens of times, but a number of times to where it's very gratifying to just help them without any edge in it other than helping my friend. But George was a flipper on the card side, that he wasn't on a stockbroker side. Because in those days, stockbrokers were charging based on every trade. And so if you were trading too much, it would look like you're churning and running up fees. He wasn't doing that. But with cards, he was always looking to find out what somebody wanted. And he would do these like the NBA trades where it's a three-way trade because you need somebody to throw in some money or a draft pick or a player. He would trade me for something, knowing that what I traded him was what somebody else really wanted. He was a trader. He loved trading.
That was fun. And then he would keep the few best cards for himself.
More than it wasn't 5 or 10. This was a huge buy, but it was less than a shoebox. But he kept all the Gaudis. He kept all the T206s and pre-war stuff. But anything, even in the 50s, he thought, don't need this. I've seen that. I've got it. I said, okay.
But the point is, George was one of the first doing that. And there's a percentage of people even today, because as I said, I do read the Net 54 boards, and there's certain people, they keep their cards focused to just maybe 25 or 50 cards. Our mutual friend, Nat Galvin, is working on a 56 Hall of Fame set. But you know what else he's working on? He's working on Topps flagship Texas Ranger collection to go with for his kids.
For his kids, yeah.
Because it's something fun to bring his kids in.
That's achievable, yeah.
And it's a very achievable goal. We had lunch a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know what was on his list. And I said, I bet you need 668, the Rangers team card, and 72. Yep. And then he was a little surprised on the bump blows when I explained to him the history of the 79 Topps. And I said, that was the first Topps real variation in 5 years. Topps really had, if you think about it, good quality control. They goofed it up. And he was a little surprised when I explained to him why that card was on his list. He goes, oh, now I understand why that card's on my list.
There are no 52 Topps high numbers on his list. That's brilliant. Right. There's no 53 Topps high numbers. There's no anything pre-72.
It's the Rangers. It's just the Rangers, not the Washington Senators. And honestly, the Washington Senators, unless there's a 4-player rookie card, I don't think any of the Washington Senators, maybe the 62 high number, there might be one on in the rookie parade. I don't think they're on anything too bad, even the Washington Senators.
Well, they don't have too many great players.
Not in those years. No.
Yeah. Okay, getting back to Robert's question here, it sounded to me like he was possibly, and this is an interesting way to approach it, because I interpret it two ways. One is that he wants to become a team collector, or he wants to become a team card collector. In other words, go back to 1956, and I want to get all the team cards that Topps produced that show a picture of the team. So I want all teams, but I just want the team card. Then I have a sort of a complete set. I have every player on the team on that one card. And in those days, it was 16 team cards, and I'm done. Some would be high numbers. So what do you think about that?
I will tell you, Rich Muller in his Sports Collectors Daily, and I forgot the man's name who wrote it, but a really well-researched article about which players are showing up on these team cards.
Oh, Roy Carlson. Yeah.
Roy Carlson.
He's amazing.
And he's done others as well. It's fun now to go back and say, okay, who's on what cards? And that's actually very interesting and achievable. You're going to have a few tricky things, the 58 team variations, where I think the numericals are tougher in the last series. The 59 Yankee card is no fun to get. Also, you want to make sure, unless you don't care, you want it unmarked.
Yep.
There's some 60s the same way. I think there's 61 high numbers. I think has the Twins team card in it and the Pirates team
And
card.
Pirates, yeah. So you're liking that?
I think that would be one of the most interesting and unique collections I've thought about. I hadn't even thought about that.
I think it would display very nicely, and it doesn't apply to the other sports quite as well. Football would be next because there's a lot of football team cards over the years. Basketball, not as much, but then there aren't as many basketball cards, period. And frankly, they aren't doing them anymore.
Yeah, they do them differently now. That's what I'm saying. I think that's a really cool way of doing things.
Are there any Panini team cards?
I've never thought about that.
I think so. I'm sure Topps does because flagship.
That's a fun, completable project. I think he's looking, hey, I'd rather have, in terms of what's my better long-term play. Like, for example, if you wanted to do the Dallas Mavericks, would you want a bunch of $1 Dirk cards and Luka cards and eventually Cooper Flag cards and then a few Derek Harper, Orlando Blackman, people like that thrown in, Mark Aguirre? Mark Aguirre, I think, just made the Hall of Fame. Do you want the dollar cards of the world?
The Mavs Hall of Fame.
No, I think he made the Mavs Hall of Fame. I thought he might actually be in the Basketball Hall of Fame too at some point.
He's in the offensive
basketball
Hall of Fame.
Hey, Adrian Dantley got into the Hall of Fame the same way. You couldn't stop him in the paint, and he just was amazing.
6'3" or 6'4", Adrian Dantley. I saw him play in college. Yeah.
But the point is, do you want to just get the best Dirk Nowitzki rookie you can get, or one of the best Luka Doncic? I think the very best Luka Doncic rookie card is like this 101 that's never been found.
Yeah.
Do you want to get the best Cooper Flag card you can get? The Mavericks have had other good players, great players over the year. Jason Kidd, Hall of Famer for sure, but his rookie year is 94, so maybe you get an autograph card, even if it's a classic autograph from 94, to get Jason Kidd in there from his rookie year. So do you want to just get the 10, and you have Mavericks season tickets, and you've had those season tickets for more than 30 years. Would you want to just get the 10 best Mavericks cards, or would you want to get 100 best Mavericks cards where you get one card each of all 100 best players they've had?
10 or 20 years ago, I was doing that. I was trying to be very inclusive, encyclopedic, and I had more cards than I knew what to do with because it just kept getting more and organizing them and having complete sets, as well as player runs and things like that. And then over the last 5 years of doing the podcast and getting rid of 1% a month, I'm not collecting that way anymore. And I'm still enjoying. So my main buying thing, I have two buying things that I do. And the single cards are not auction. That's strictly dollar box. If I'm going to buy a card or a bunch of cards, that is not auction. That is fixed price of me going in, and I satiate at the card shows every other month and at the National. The other thing I do, which is what you're saying, is I will occasionally buy on my own. I bought, as well as auctions from mainly Huggins and Scott. I bought that big blaster group and just opened them up. And I've gotten some boxes, and some of the boxes I've got for review. I'm looking for what you're saying is the really nice Dirk card or Luka card or something that I put on my wall. So there's the wall aspect, and then there's the dollar box aspect. And there's really nothing in between for me. I already have enough nice cards. So like I say, Rich, I am not typical, because if I had $1,000 and I'm at the show, I'm going straight to the dollar box and I will not be diverted. And it doesn't matter. I suppose if there'd be some amazing underpriced Roberto Clemente, if I saw it, I'd think, wow, but I'm not looking there. I'm just thinking I'm going straight to the dollar box.
It's funny. I think one of the reasons we've talked about this is the ROI, return on investment, from the dollar box is probably better for you than the one expensive card.
By return on enjoyment.
Enjoyment too. So not just ROI, but ROE. How about that? There's a new term, return on enjoyment, ROE.
And you can't brag about it. I can't come home and tell Diane, hey, I bought these 500 cards in the dollar box and let me show you. She's going to say, show Rich, show somebody. Not that she doesn't care. It's just she's not into it. She's into me, but not my hobby, other than she loves it that I enjoy my hobby. Okay. And so I'm not going to go through it. And frankly, if I have people over, they don't want to look at dollar box purchases. They want to look at the card wall and see what really exotic card I might have up there.
So I think it depends what it is. For sheer visibility, it's the one card, but for learning purposes, it's the 1,000 cards at $1 each.
The man in the house of cards is doing